Welcome back to this reading vlog of The Darkness That Comes Before by R. Scott Bakker. Today we're talking about chapter 15. We are getting into part 5 of the Holy War. 5 chapters total. This is the first one. It is called Momemn. This is when pretty much everything is coming together, more or less. We have a lot of political conversations. We have Xinemus. We have Achaemen chatting about some stuff. Proyas is also there. So it's kind of like the the old mentor facing the student who is now a prince. I didn't really find that particularly interesting, again, because I never really cared about Proyas. I never learned to like him as a character. Achaemen, yes, I feel like Achaemen, even though he's been neglected more recently, development-wise, he's one of my favorite characters still. But yeah, a lot of talking. This is an exceptionally long chapter with not a lot going on. Well, I'm sure there's plenty of going on, but not a lot that is going to interest me anyway. But one thing does happen, and Achaemen is talking to the king, and then the king dies. So Anasurimbor, Selamonis II, White Lord of Trisse, High King of these fucking names, grew slack and dull. The evening sun flashed, then flickered out, and the gleaming bronze of Norserai host paled in the no god's twilight. Our king. So everyone's freaking out the king is dead. Who cares though, man? I think that's the one thing about this book and most political fantasy in general is that I don't care. If you don't make me care about the character, I don't care about your politics. I don't care. If you don't make them interesting, I don't care. I'm sorry, I just don't care. Achaemen is interesting. Esmenet's interesting. I think that's it. I think that's it so far in the story. Nair, he's fine. Kellis, pretty boring, pretty robotic. I really, really hope he turns into something else because right now he's kind of a disappointment to me. But speaking of Esmenet, the most interesting scene in this entire chapter is with Esmenet. So she spots this guy. She's with Sarcellus, hanging out, she's, I guess because he saved her from getting stoned and stuff. And they seem to be having a relationship of some sort. But what I love about this scene, again, fantastic character work here, is that she spots this guy. This studly blonde guy, I think. He's pretty ripped, according to what she says. And she kind of pursues him, and he pursues her. And there's a misunderstanding, because there's definitely an attraction there. But he doesn't realize she is a whore, right? A whore, he hissed. You're a whore. And I love this line. I absolutely love this line. I'm 12 silver talents. Oh, so beautiful, Bakker. Magical character work right there, because she is, she doesn't use her name. She uses her value, or her perceived value. And the funny thing is, though, he says done, but then he notices something, right? She's got a tattoo or something. Yeah. It's a mockery of the tattoos borne by Garrick priestesses, no? Meaning she has been devalued. I'll give you 12 talents, copper. The great thing about this is Esmenet's opinion of herself. It's not the opinion of others upon her. It's the opinion of herself. So she knows she's a prostitute. It's funny because I feel like in any other story out there, we would have this, the hooker with a heart of gold kind of trope or cliche that's in a lot of fiction. But what's great about how Bakker is treating Esmenet is that she's kind of trapped, because you want her to ascend. You want her to break free from these shackles, these shackles of prostitution. But she knows she lives in that world. She accepts it. And I wonder, again, I don't know how the rest of the books develop her, but I wonder if that is part of the big problem that people have with her, is they want that. They want to see her rise away. They want her to see her break free, break these shackles, become a strong, powerful woman. She doesn't need this stuff. But that's all she knows, right? As far as I know, anyway. And so to her, you know what? I'm probably going to equate this terribly, but it reminds me of, if you've ever seen the show Downton Abbey. That's it, Downton Abbey. So if you check that out, there's a great scene in it when the head butler, he's offended because there's these other people that show up and they're because this is kind of when England is changing, right? There's a transformation going on because the old ways are bleeding away into the past and the new ways are coming. There's some people that visit them one time, And the guy approaches the butler, the head butler, and he is very, very prideful. He's very proud of his job. And this guy's telling him, like, why are you doing this? Like, you're better than this, essentially. And herein lies the problem. Herein lies the misunderstanding, because he has pride in his job. He's very proud of what he has become, that he cares for this household. Whereas people from the outside, they look at it and they're like, man, you could do so much better than this. Why are you a slave, essentially? That's not how he looks at it. Another fantastic exploration of this concept is The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro, one of my favorite writers. But that's what's happening here, and I wonder, again, I have not read book 2 or book 3 or anything else, but I wonder if that's the major problem people have with Esmenet, is because she recognizes what she is, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? And I know, looking at it from the outside, it seems that is the case, but when this is all you know, it's okay, I guess, for lack of a better word. It's okay in her eyes, and so that's why she says, I'm 12 silver talents. She objectifies even herself. She gives herself a monetary value. But then what makes this scene all the more painful is when she gives in, right? Yes, she whispered, feeling tears brim her eyes. What was that? Yes, just hurry. So she agrees to this man's conditions, and, well, they get at it, and but something strange happens. This man, he says, by the god, he repeated differently this time. What have I done? So he finds something out. And I'm guessing it has to do with her coupling of some strange individual, the Batman, as I like to call him in this. She pinched shut her eyes, saw black seed smeared across her belly. Then she fled, truly alone. So this was by far probably the best scene in the book so far, in my opinion, because it makes Esmenet real. Very, very few, if none of these other scenes, I've felt that kind of connection to a character. This is the kind of stuff that is missing from 99.9% of fantasy, so I'm absolutely ecstatic that Bakker has created something like this. But then she goes back to Sarcellus, and he wants some too. He notices that she has been up to something. He asks who it was. He says, it came in, and she says, yes. And then he kind of looks broken for some reason. Sarcellus lowered his hand, released her. For a moment, he looked broken. Now we get into a conversation between Proyas and Acamian. Again, not that terribly interesting, but Proyas has summoned Acamian because they have found a Sylvendi. Yes, they found Nair. They've also found Kellis, and they talk about it at length until he shows up. They also have a conversation, but Acamian everything's falling in place for him, for this man. During the apocalypse, the Sylvendi joined the no-god. Oh man, all of this prophetic stuff is coming together. And it just gets even worse when Kellis shows up. He says who he is. And then again, Acamian recounts. He remembers something that this king said. One of my seed will return, Saswatha. And that's it. That's pretty much the chapter. I know there's probably a lot more going on that I'm not super aware of, or maybe I should have brought up. But again, this is kind of what I'm getting at, is that all of this politicking, it doesn't matter, because, and it's funny because when you're reading about it, it's not particularly interesting. It's not particularly interesting from the outside, at least to me personally. I can get behind politics, again, if they're rooted in character, if they're rooted in someone I hate, someone I like, someone I understand, all of the above. I just need to see that perspective. And unfortunately, with Proyas, with all these other people, I don't see that perspective. I don't think we've been given enough time to truly know who these people are. Yes, I understand that Acamian and Proyas had this relationship, this kind of father and son-like thing, and now he's something else entirely. But other than that, I mean, that's all there is. And Acamian and Esmenet still stand to be the most interesting characters, in my eyes anyway, in this, because again, I am invested in their stories. However, like I said, Acamian seems to be less interesting in this part so far, but we are still early. Yes, we have 4 more chapters to go. I know it sounds like I may be hating on this novel. I'm not. I'm just expressing my opinions, my gut feelings, my reactions as I read this stuff. And while there's a lot to like about this novel, there's a lot that, I don't know. We do know that Bakker is looking at this from a historical perspective, a fake historical perspective. That aspect of the novel is important to him. It's totally justified, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who absolutely love that stuff. And there's probably people out there who can witness this politicking that's going on and not really care so much about who is in these roles, just that it's happening in general. That's not me, though. I have to be invested in these people. I have to know these people are real. I have to know these consequences are going to make me feel something. Not just observe it from a 30,000 foot view, you know, on a map, on a politic map, on a war map. That's just not me. And I don't think it takes a lot of work. It takes these little pieces, because if you really look at Akamian and you look at Esmond, their stories are small, but I think it's in those small moments, those quiet moments, that we really understand who these people are. All right, I will quit babbling. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.